one of my motivations to start a law practice was seeing that at that time lawyers treated clients very rudely, like people that don't know nothing, and you had to sometimes wait at a lawyer's office for 2 hours, 3 hours just to get advice.
Okay.
And I wanted to change that. So I was one of the first lawyers in Tanzania that actually was following my client to their offices, or I would have coffee with my client. I would make sure that my client comes first. And so that's where I made a lot of name, a lot of fame, a lot of people started knowing me because they said, if you call him, he'll get it done. So always there was my slogan, and I live by that till today.
For the people that are still struggling to make a mark in the industry, you said until 25 it was very tough to find a job. Now, right now, there's a lot of, for example, my cousin just graduated at law degree. What advice would you have for her, for the other people that are just graduated in law? What message do you have for them?
I think times are different today than they were in the past. My roll number is 1548. Your cousin is probably 11,000 something right now. So times are different. It's not very easy to get into the market at the moment. So you really need to show how good you are. And I do a lot of trainings for lawyers as well in the Law Society. And it's one of my passion to actually groom young lawyers and to train them. And I always tell them that the first step is creating your personal brand. As a lawyer or as a newcomer in this industry, you need to create your personal brand. So start by being active on LinkedIn, start by writing an article or two, start by writing to law firms, but don't just write to law firms applying for a job. Tell the law firm what you can do for them. Tell them how the law firm stands out and what you can bring to the table. In today's market, you have to put yourself out there. If you don't, you're lost. All law firm partners, managing partners are on LinkedIn and Instagram. It's like a race right now. We're all trying to stand out, We shared 4 to 5 stories in a day because we want people to read our stories and see who we are and what we think and how we think. So these people are out there on social media every day. And when they see you stand out, they get impressed. I just gave an opportunity to somebody that wrote an email to the firm, didn't get a response, and then reached out to me on Instagram and said, "Hi, Mr. Shehzada, how are you? I've written to your firm, but I have no response." And I was impressed. I was like, okay, somebody's reaching out to me. And I forwarded the contacts to the HR, and luckily she was called for the interview and she made it. She didn't make it because she reached out to me on the Instagram, but I made sure she got an opportunity to get an interview.
Yes.
So you have to stand out, you have to reach out, you have to put yourself out there. If you're going to hide behind the scenes and just send out CVs and applications, you're not going to make it that way.
And another question for the people that you said standing out is very important. And most of our previous guests, for the likes of Mr. Bakari, they do say that sometimes you shouldn't put money as a factor when you're starting out. What's your thoughts on that? Because a lot of people start thinking, if I'm going to be employed by Rive & Co, they should pay me, for example, 1 million starting off. This is what I want. No, non-negotiable. What's your thoughts on this? People who are just starting out thinking like this.
It's good to know your worth.
Okay.
But how did you measure your worth is the question, right?
Yeah.
You spent 24 years of your life in school, in university, being behind in a classroom. And now suddenly you have a paper degree that says you're an LLB and you're asking for 1 million shillings. Nobody's going to give it to you just like that. Because when you want to become a lawyer or you want to practice law, it's a practice. So we want to know how good you are. What do you know? What do you bring to the table? So when you start off, it's important for you to put that money aside and say, I'm going to dedicate 2 years of my life learning. And when you learn, and when you show that you're a quick learner, you're getting that experience, you're managing expectations of the partners in the law firm, the associates, you will stand out. And trust me, once you've created that personal brand of yours, anybody will reach out to you. I remember I hired an intern, and she was so good that in 2 months she got an offer from an international law firm. And she came to me and she said, Mr. Shehzada, thank you so much for the opportunity, but I'm getting this other opportunity at an international law firm. And I said, I'm really proud of you. I'm very happy for you. You should definitely take it. So she stood out, and that's what's important. Stand out first, learn, get that experience, and go for it. It's very unfortunate that some of us didn't get that experience and we just went for it. But if I had to go back and redo it again, I would love to have worked for a law firm for at least a year or two before I decided to start my own law firm. But that opportunity wasn't offered to me.
And there are two terms that I always confuse between a lawyer and an advocate. What's the difference between the two?
So a lawyer is a person that has graduated with an LLB degree. Okay. Once you graduate with an LLB degree, you're a lawyer. An advocate is somebody that has gone ahead and attended law school and obtained a postgraduate diploma in legal practice that allows them to practice law in the courts, in the courts of law. So a person that has an LLB cannot just go and represent clients in court. You have to have the postgraduate diploma in legal practice and equivalent to what they say passing the bars. You can represent a client. That's called an advocate.
Okay. So it's lawyer first, then advocate.
Yes. So you have to become a lawyer first, and then you become an advocate. And you may choose to not become an advocate and just be a lawyer and do simple consultancies. However, what that happens is when you're just a lawyer, you're then not allowed to sign any legal documents on behalf of your client or sign off on any legal opinions that you're going to be giving to people. You would always need somebody else to sign off a legal opinion because you're not qualified to practice law.
Okay. So are you just a lawyer or you're an advocate as well?
I'm an advocate. So I'm an advocate of the High Court in Tanzania and also in Zanzibar.
So just to get it right, you have to, if you want to become an advocate in Zanzibar, you have to go to Zanzibar
to apply.
Okay. And what are the biggest misconceptions that people have about lawyers, and what have you personally challenged any of these perceptions that they have?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions people have about lawyers is that lawyers are perfect. That they know everything. They misconstrue the meaning of learned people or learned counsel. Lawyers don't know everything. Lawyers just know where to find the law. We're not trained to know everything. We're trained to know where to look for the law, where to look for the solutions, and being called learned people means that we are trained to always keep learning, always keep reading, always keep doing research, always keep being updated. So that's one of the biggest misconceptions people have about lawyers. They sometimes compare us very close to God because they're like, when we go to a lawyer, he's gonna get shit done for us, and we'll make it.
You mentioned I believe it was Mr. Kapinga, that you said used technology at its finest.
Dr. Ringo Tenga.
Dr. Ringo Tenga. How do you think, since you said 2009, he managed to use technology, and right now you can see there's the likes of AI, how do you think the legal industry in Tanzania can adapt to the increasing use of technology and AI?
So I think technology is always the best tool to simplify whatever you're doing, right? As a lawyer, technology now helps you navigate through a lot of things that in the past were difficult. In the past, people used to use typewriters, right? And then print it out and then put it on a nice document, design it, and then put it in an envelope, send it via telegram. Now we do emails, right? I think to begin with, lawyers need to first learn how to use the simple technologies, like using emails, using WhatsApp, all these other communication gadgets. And then obviously AI is something that is an assisted tool that we use. Currently, before we used to use a lot of Google. Now a lot of us even go on ChatGPT to ask questions or to ask ChatGPT to make a presentation for us. So it's evolving. However, for Tanzania, I feel we're still somewhere behind. Lawyers are still not wanting to adopt. I recall in 2021, I was running for the presidency for the Tanganyika Law Society, and I made a presentation in front of 1,000 lawyers on AI and technology, and I said, the robots are coming, and everybody was surprised, and they were like, "What? What is this guy saying?" Fast forward in 2024, I attended the Law Society meeting, and I was sitting in a room and I was just listening to these people talk about AI, and then somebody stood up and said, Shehzada said robots are coming, and now they're here. We didn't believe him, and it was very interesting to see that, but we're still catching up. But I believe we'll get there.
Do you advise someone to go to AI to seek for legal advice?
Well, AI will only give you what it's learned. So, for example, not all AIs are updated because AI learns from what you feed it.
Okay.
If you go right now and go on ChatGPT and ask them about maybe certain laws, if those laws are not in the web, AI will not be able to tell you these laws. So AI is best used as an assisted tool, but not something that you should 100% rely on. As a lawyer, you need to do extra research. Sometimes I do see people writing articles and also sending me work, and you can tell it's ChatGPT. But when you actually do further research, you realize that a lot of information is false. And this is because AI just picks up whatever it probably learned from here and there and then gave it to you. So as a lawyer, I would say don't make the mistake of focusing on AI alone.
And also, we talked about misconceptions that people have about lawyers. So I had a friend that I used to study with, and he really used to like Louis Late, and he as well wanted to become a lawyer. But then he couldn't become a lawyer, and I asked him why. He told me that his dad told him that being a lawyer is haram. What do you think about that?
So, don't know why he wanted to become Louis Late, because I have respect for his best But my mom actually also, until today, tells me that being a lawyer is haram. So, because the misconception is that we defend criminals or people that do wrong. Not everybody knows what a lawyer really does. Some lawyers are just simply making money in registering companies for people, drafting documents. So it's very difficult to speak to a certain generation or people with certain ideologies, especially with religious ideologies. Personally, I don't like to engage in religious discussions much or point out somebody's religion, because when we grow up, we don't choose our religion. So we grow up knowing this is our religion, we follow it until we grow old, and if you're fortunate enough to use your brains to do more research, you'll do it. If you don't, then you'll stick to it. So unfortunately, that is an issue. That my mom used to think that I'm defending criminals, and I'm helping all these bad people who get into trouble. I'm getting them out of trouble. So until today, she actually sometimes is like, oh, it's haram.
So, as an entrepreneur and legal expert, what's your take on the future of business law in Africa, especially as the continent becomes more globally interconnected?
The good news is that a lot of law firms, a lot of lawyers are already adopting to looking at law as a business. The biggest challenge Tanzania also had, especially with lawyers, is that it was very difficult for lawyers to, look at law as a business. And that's because in the past, law was simply looked at as a practice. As a practice in the sense that, we never used to pay corporate taxes, we never used to file returns and all these things. But now we're paying taxes. We need to have a business license to practice law. So we're adopting to that, and Africa in general has also adopted to that law is actually a business and not just a practice. And I feel in the next 5 to 10 years we will keep evolving. And I would not like to blow my own trumpet, but law firms like Rav & Co. are trendsetters when it comes to looking at law as a business. And we're always happy to share our story, our learnings with others.